It's time to get your news on. We are VK1WIA.
Yes, it is the national news, and it's for week commencing March 3, 2024. This week, David, VK4DN from the Bundaberg Amateur Radio Club, with further on the WIA Convention Expo and Handfest. WIA President Scott Williams, VK3KJ, talks club insurance, and the snags are almost done. And why are we telling you that? Well, stay tuned. Oh, and there's much more in this edition of news from the Wireless Institute of Australia. I'm Editor Graham, VK4BB.
Ham Radio News. Nobody does it better. We are VK1WIA.
CQ, calling all VK stations. G'day, I'm David, VK4DN from the Bundy Amateur Radio Club. Just a reminder that the WIA Convention, Expo and Hamfest happening here in Bundaberg is now less than 10 weeks away. If you're interested in setting up a display with items for sale or to promote your business or special interest, now's a good time to reserve your spot. The weekend of Saturday, May the 4th and Sunday, May the 5th promises to be an amazing weekend, attracting amateurs from all over Australia. Make contact with the Secretary of the Bundy Amateur Radio Club to book your display. 73 from David, VK4DN, Bundaberg Amateur Radio Club.
This is WA President Scott Williams, VK3KJ, and welcome to all listeners wherever you might be to the national news broadcast this week. As many of our WA affiliated clubs are aware, on the 1st of April each year sees the commencement of the new insurance period for those affiliated clubs who have progressed liability insurance and other insurances through the WIA preferred insurance partner in Gips Insure. Around 130 affiliated clubs hold some type of insurance coverage through Gips Insure, ranging from public and product liability, association liability, professional indemnity, management liability, volunteer workers insurance, general property insurance, to name just a few. Gips Insure will be in contact with all affiliated clubs who hold insurance shortly to commence the renewal process for this year. The WIA is aware that not all insurance requirements and activities of clubs can be satisfied by the general, public and product liability insurance that Gips Insure has put in place with the current underwriter. Gips Insure continues to go to market, approaching different underwriters, continually looking for enhanced policy conditions and additional insurance coverage. The difficulty is that underwriters have an appetite for a certain amount of risk only, and of course this is balanced against the premiums that are charged. Despite Gips Insure uses its best endeavours to negotiate the best outcomes for affiliated clubs, the reality is there are some activities that the underwriters will just not insure under a general policy. The arrangement with Gips Insure continues to be price attractive and enables clubs to consolidate their insurance needs, making administration of insurance simpler. All clubs are encouraged to carefully consider your insurance requirements and ensure adequate insurance is in place commensurate with your activities. That's it for me this week, and this has been Scott Williams, WIA President, on behalf of the WIA Board. Best wishes.
From here, there and everywhere, you've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's national news service. We are VK1WIA. Now with international news, Jason, VK2LAW.
Hello. Houston, we have 4 Martians. NASA has opened the call for a simulated year-long Mars mission. If you're looking for an extended vacation next year, NASA is seeking applicants to participate in its Mars surface mission to help inform the agency's plans for human exploration of the Red Planet. Called CHAPPY, acronym for Crew Health and Performance Exploration Analog, is scheduled to pick up in spring 2025. The CHAPPY mission involves a 4-person volunteer crew living and working inside a 1,700 square foot 3D printed habitat based at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. The habitat, called Mars Dune Alpha, simulates the challenges of a mission on Mars, including resource limitations, equipment failures, communication delays, and other environmental stresses. Crew tasks include simulated spacewalks, robotic operations, habitat maintenance, exercise, and crop growth. UK Power Up. Ofcom, the UK regulator, has released its final decisions following its consultation of the amateur radio licensing framework last year. The changes to licence conditions include the optional use of regional secondary locators, increased transmitter power levels, and provide greater opportunity to bring newcomers into amateur radio. There are approximately 100,000 amateur radio licences issued by Ofcom in the UK. Ofcom says that it will shortly be contacting all licensees to provide each with their new licence document. Ofcom is aiming to reissue all UK amateur radio licences by the autumn of 2024. Given that increased transmitter power levels are now available, all amateurs are reminded that they're required to carry out EMF assessments. North to Alaska. HARP transmit experiments on now till today, March 3rd. The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, HARP, has been conducting a research campaign on various frequencies, but all HARP transmissions are between 2.8 MHz and 10 MHz. These experiments will help lead to a greater understanding of the production and enhancement of the ELF and VLF waves, as well as lay groundwork for future studies of satellite interactions with space plasma. For more information on ELF-VLF wave generation with HARP, see the online HARP FAQ. From the land of the free to the land of the fees. The South African Radio League has engaged with their regulator, ICASA, about the new ICASA licence fees for the year 1st of April 24 to the 30th of March 2025. As soon as the SARL gets a copy of the new licence fees, it will be communicated to their members. ICASA has indicated that the electronic system must be updated with the new fees, then the process of generating the invoices will begin. Licence holders will be notified by email when their invoices are ready to be downloaded from the ICASA customer portal. New Zealand blast-off. Astro scales ADRAS-J spacecraft. A demonstration satellite that could perform future space junk cleanup efforts is now in orbit after a successful launch from New Zealand Sunday last. The satellite was sent to space atop an Electron rocket from the Rocket Lab spaceport in the Hawke's Bay region of the North Island's east coast. Its mission, which was selected by Japan's space agency, JAXA, for Phase 1 of the commercial removal of debris demonstration program, will see ADRAS-J rendezvous with an old Japanese rocket upper stage that's been in orbit since 2009. Over the next few months, it will make its way to the target and eventually get close enough to take images and assess its condition to determine if it can be removed. ADRAS-J is officially on duty and ready to rendezvous with some space debris, the company tweeted. Let the new era of space sustainability begin. The accumulation of waste in Earth's orbit from decades of spaceflight is an issue of growing concern. Across Europe, there are about 413 million vehicles, about 28% of the world's total, according to automotive research agency Hedges & Company, and radio is an important part of the European in-car audio ecosystem. Given the importance, it's no surprise that the European Broadcasting Union is thinking strategically on how the driver radio interface works. Writing on the EBU blog, Thomas Granrid, head of digital partnerships at Sveriges Radio, outlined what's being called the playbook. Despite its popularity with the public, it can be increasingly difficult to find radio in modern cars. Too often the radio is hidden behind a confusing maze of buttons and menus, or radio is listed along with connectivity standards such as USB and Bluetooth, Granrid writes. He noted that the issue isn't simply the in-dash interface, but also the proliferation of digital apps broadcasters have created for non-linear listening, especially if the driver is interacting with the car's entertainment system through voice controls. Granrid and the EBU are calling for the radio industry as whole to act together to ensure radio, including broadcasters' apps, are easily found by drivers. The playbook effort is beginning with EBU members assuming a common clear map of who are the key players, including broadcasters, and what's required to ensure that audiences can continue to easily find and listen to the content they love. For VK1 WIA National News, in Sydney, I'm Jason, VK2LAW.
We are VK1 WIA. Now, operational news with VK4 FUQ. Felix.
Hello there. Ham Radio Operational News. It's Contact Sport, HI. Now, contest-wise, 2024. AWLDX phone contest March 2 and 3. Use only the 160, 80, 40, 20, 15 and 10 metre bands. IAAU HF World Championship the second full weekend of July, that is 13-14. Trans-Tasman Low Band Contest, July 21st. The Trans-Tasman Contest, always held on the third weekend in July, aims to encourage low band activity between VK and ZL. Only contest bands 160, 80 and 40 metres are allowed with SSB, CW and digital, that is RIDI or PSK. This contest is another official WIA contest that will count towards the Peter Brown Contest Champion Awards. August 17-18, Remembrance Day Contest. This contest commemorates the Australian amateurs who died during World War II and is designed to encourage friendly participation and help improve the operating skills of participants. It is held on the weekend closest to the 15th of August, the date on which hostilities ceased in the Southwest Pacific area. A perpetual trophy is awarded annually to the Australian state or territory with the best performance. The name of the winning state or territory is inscribed on the trophy, and that state or territory then holds the trophy for 12 months. The winning state or territory is also given a certificate, as they are leading entrants. Amateurs will endeavour to contact amateurs in BK call areas, ZL and P29 on all bands, except white bands. Modes allowed are phone, CW and RITI, as per the year remembered. Again, the 2024 contest is 17th and 18th August. 44th Alara Contest, and this Alara Contest is always held on the last full weekend of August. All licensed operators throughout the world are invited to participate. Scout and Girl Guide groups are encouraged to take part using their club's equipment and call sign. YLs work everyone, OMs work YLs only. DX window to the world. Be like Steve Adler, BK5 SFA and be aware. Steve has received the spam email in the form of an EQSL. Main thing to look out for is the spelling. As an example, card is spelt with A-double-A. As with anything you receive that you are not expecting or rings warning bells, never ever click on links or attachments. Morocco. Yannick F6FYD is QRV as CN2YD until March 15. Solomon Islands. H44MS, Bernard, is operating in the Solomon Islands until the end of April on HF using SSB and FT8. QSL via club logs OQRS. The Val Dam celebrates its 85th birthday. The Cecilborg ARC will be operating ZS85 VDAM now to April the 1st to celebrate the 85th anniversary of the opening of the Val Dam. There is a special QSL card available. Send your QSL card to the Cecilborg ARC to receive the ZS85 VDAM QSL card. Namibia. QRV is V51WH from Omanguru until the end of April. Activities on 160 to 10 metres, including 60 metres for those in the world able to use that band. V51WH. QSL to Gunta, home call is DK2WH. Another operator is Frank, DL7ATA, who is on a road trip until the 23rd of March, operating during his evening hours as V5/DL7ATA using SSB. QSL via home call. Net advice. As we pick up some net advice news from Newsline, I'll say goodbye from Ingham. I'm Felix, VK4FUQ, and here is Ralph, KK6ITB.
The multi-mode digital network known as the QuadNet Array doesn't just unite fans of D-Star, DMR, and C4FM Fusion. A new mode will be added to the mix once a week. Pun mode. Pun mode is neither digital nor analog, and it's not the exclusive practice of ham radio operators. Hams who have a reputation for groan-inducing wordplay now have a refuge in which to practice their craft. The Pun in Life Net is starting up on the QuadNet Array beginning on Saturday the 2nd of March at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time. The net control and punster-in-chief is Daryl Stout, N5VLZ, a past participant in the World Championship Pun-Off held every May at the O. Henry Museum in Austin, Texas. Humor must conform to the on-the-air standards of decency, and because this is a digital mode, and the only QRM you are likely to hear are the loud groans from everyone else. Visit the website openquad.net to check it out before you check in. Daryl is hoping for a big enough crowd to make this a pun-in-a-million experience. This is Ralph Squillace, KK6ITB.
From here, there and everywhere, you've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now, special interest group news with Cole, VK3GTV.
Hello, first up in Worldwide Special Interest Group News this week, it's Summits on the Air, Worldwide Flora and Fauna Program, Parks on the Air and other adventure groups. New parks for VK7. 101 new Worldwide Flora and Fauna Park Reserve reference areas have recently been added to the VK7 directory, which now lists over 300 references ready to be activated. All of these new WWFF reference areas fall within the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN, Protected Area Category System. The list of the new VK7 park reserves can be found in the WWFF online directory or the WWFF Australia website and will soon be added to the Parks and Peaks website. While we're at it, a reminder, a Worldwide Flora and Fauna Parks group meets twice weekly in the Apple Isle, Mondays and Fridays 10:30am at the Glebe Gardens Cafe in Henry Street, Launceston. For more information, contact Al on 0417 354 410. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Astronomy and Wireless Weather. The strongest solar flare of the current solar cycle was detected on February 22nd. Flares are classified according to their strength, with the smallest ones being B class, followed by C, M, and X, which is the most extreme. The largest flare in recent days, an X6.3 flare, was the Sun's most powerful outburst since 2017. What makes this more notable is that it was the third X-class flare in 24 hours from our very active Sun at the moment. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Radio Amateur Oldtimers. And with the latest news, it's over to our man in the West, Clive.
Hello everyone, this is Clive, VK6CSW, reminding you that tomorrow is the first Monday of the month, time for the Radio Amateurs Old Timers Club of Australia's March Bulletin to go to air. This month, instead of the usual broadcast, we offer an historical broadcast from years past by Alan Doble, VK3AMD, now SK. The usual latest news and information will be broadcast next month. Everyone, RAOTC members and non-members alike, is most welcome to listen to the programme and join in the callbacks afterwards. Full details of all transmissions, times and modes can be found on the RAOTC website at www.raotc.org.au or just search RAOTC broadcasts in your favourite browser. If none of the transmission times suit you, you can download the audio file at any time from today from the club website. Members and friends of the RAOTC in Perth are reminded that the next lunchtime meeting at the new venue, the Woodbridge Hotel, East Guildford, is on Tuesday, March the 12th. All are welcome. Further details are published on the club website. Once again, tune in tomorrow for the March RAOTC Bulletin. Enjoy the programme and please join in the callbacks afterwards. 7-3 from Clive, VK6CSW.
Thanks, Clive. Next up, it's Worldwide Special Interest Group's Final Frontier, FunCube. After a good period of transponder activity, FunCube batteries need a short rest. So the plan is to switch the transponder off between March the 3rd, today, till the 15th, subject to operational conditions. FunCube will be placed in safe mode and will still provide low power telemetry. final frontier in more than one way, NASA is developing a plan to deorbit the International Space Station, currently scheduled for 2030. Since the approximately 110-metre wide laboratory is too big to completely vaporize if left to naturally burn in Earth's atmosphere, the space agency intends to send a US spacecraft to help deorbit the station and direct its re-entry over the unpopulated area of the South Pacific. The goal to give the ISS an extra space tug to help it move more than it could with its own thrust and guide the final burns for the ISS to re-enter Earth's atmosphere. The space tug is expected to cost $1 billion. Russia has agreed to stay on board the ISS through until 2028, after which it may focus on building its own station in low Earth orbit. Other partner countries have agreed to continue their presence through until 2030, but it's unclear precisely how they'll contribute to retiring the ISS. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Islands on the Air, IOTA number OC065, Pigeon Island, H40WA. Listen for the Intrepid DX Group's de-expedition to Pigeon Island, IOTA number OC065, until March 7th. The team is operating CW, SSB and FT8 in Fox and Hound mode on 160 through to 6 metres, with as many as 6 stations operational as H40WA. Pigeon Island is one of the reef islands in the Solomon Islands in Tuamotu Province, 360 nautical miles from Honiara, not the WA island, also called Pigeon, which lays well off the coast northwest of Geraldton. Watch the team's Facebook page for updates. See qrz.com for QSL details. OC144, 7B4K, Catawai Island. The Banker Balatung de-expedition team, signing as 7B4K, will be active from Catawai Island, OC144, Banker and Balatung Islands during May 24 to 26. QRV on HF bands. Check the QRZ.com entry for more info, including QSL Manager. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Maritime Radio Day 2024. Registration is now open for Maritime Radio Day 2024, which takes place annually on the 14th and 15th of April to commemorate the almost 100 years of wireless telegraphy service for seafarers, which ended with the closure in the UK of Portishead Radio on the 30th of April 2000. This event is a great opportunity to QSO with ex-marine radio officers and coast station professionals who exchange details of their previous ships and coast stations. The mode of operation is CW, and all the HF bands are used, including the WARC bands. A certificate of participation will be issued to all who submit results. Amateur license holders are invited to register and take part as Friends of MRD. Shortwave listeners may also submit logs. For more information, you can visit their website found in this week's text edition and shown on the screen in our video version of WIA National News. Worldwide Special Interest Groups Radio Amateur Young Timers, YOTA, Youngsters on the Air. And with the latest, here's Alec, VK2MV.
Particularly for our European friends tuned today, the European Space Agency Academy's CubeSat Summer School is open for applications. Taking place over 4 weeks from 5th to 30th August 2024 in Belgium, applications are now open for university students with engineering, physics and business management backgrounds. During summer school, ESA and external experts will deliver an extensive mix of lectures and hands-on activities. The entire project life cycle of a satellite mission will be covered, from design to verification, launch and operations, including typical milestone reviews and methodologies. Students will be introduced to legal, cybersecurity and economic aspects of space projects. The summer school will even introduce space entrepreneurship skills, offering support in devising methods of turning a CubeSat into a viable and profitable business opportunity. Now from that summer school to contesting news and the YOTA Contest 2024. Organised by the IARU Region 1 Youth Working Group in cooperation with the Hungarian Amateur Radio Society, the aim of the YOTA Contest is to increase youngsters' activity on the air, strengthen the reputation of the YOTA program, and demonstrate support for youngsters across the world in all regions. The 3 sessions of this year's Yoda contest will be from 1000 to 21:59 UTC on 10th of March, 21st of July, and 29th of December on the 5 classic bands CW and SSB modes. Everyone can work everyone. For VK1 WIA National News, I'm Alec, VK2MV in Sydney. Now back to you, Cole.
Thanks, Alec. On to Worldwide Special Interest Group's Rescue Radio. Ham operators from cyclone shelters of India's Nashagunta Islands promoted energy communication preparedness by engaging local schools and villages and using self-designed and locally developed communication equipment, showcasing the Make in India initiative. This was the opening paragraph in a story written and released by the Indian Ministry of Communication. Advocating last-mile connectivity and a ham in every village, alongside the readiness of hams to aid in communication failures, this dedicated team of amateur radio operators embarked on a significant journey from the cyclone shelters of Nashagunta Island in Andhra Pradesh to participate in the expedition. It aimed at integrating ham radio education in primary and secondary schools for widespread adoption and enhanced disaster response across the country. Despite facing the challenges of a very difficult and remote location, these enthusiasts showcased the spirit and innovation and resilience that truly embodies the Make in India ethos in the communications sector. The Ministry of Communications went on to say, the in charge of the wireless monitoring station in Vijayawada and the head of the International Monitoring Earth Station in Jalna, accompanied by an official from the Department of Telecommunication headquarters, visited the remote site. During the visit, they commended the steadfast dedication of the amateur radio operators, acknowledging their efforts as a reflection of India's excellence in communication technology. 5 amateur high-frequency stations and 1 amateur satellite station were set up from the disaster-prone village of Nashagunta Island, IOTA number AS199, and also used the cyclone shelters along the Bay of Bengal coastline as their base for communication. Worldwide Special Interest Group's software development. Now in its 5th year, the Amateur Radio Software Award recognises the contributions that free open-source software has made to enhance the experience of ham radio. The International Awards judges are now in search of this year's recipient from anywhere in the world. Last year's winner was Stephen Loomis, N0TTL, whose development of Grid Tracker has helped ham simplify the tracking of contacts by visualizing radio traffic on such modes as FT8. Earlier winners were David Rowe, VK5DGR, for his Codec 2 project, which gives digital voice communications access to other software and hardware projects without the need for licensing, fees, and other concerns. And the first award recipient was Anthony Good, K3NG, for the K3NG Arduino CW Kia. In addition to receiving the award, winners are also celebrated later in the year with a special event station calling attention to the innovative spirit they represent. And that's the latest Worldwide Special Interest Group news. Till next time, stay safe. I'm Cole, VK3GTV.
This is VK1 WIA. All points of contacts from today's news stories are to be found in print when you read the web editions, www.wia.org.au.
2024, it's a date and the snags are almost done. Up at Gladstone. Yes, in VK4, the Gladstone Amateur Radio Club's barbecue happens March 9. In VK4, it's the Redcliffe and District's Redfest, April 6. In VK4, it's the WIA AGM in Bundaberg, May 4 to 5. Also in VK4, on the same date, at the same venue in Bundaberg, it's Parkfest. And Parkfest happens the 4th and 5th of May in Bundaberg and Dorrigo. National Volunteer Week, Monday the 20th to Sunday the 26th of May. The Australian Fox Hunting Championships in Mount Gambier, June 8 and 9. The Gold Coast Hamfest, October 31. The QTH of that is still to be advised. VK5, the Amateur Radio Experimenters Group Radio and Electronic Sale, Saturday, October 26. And Spark Rosebud Radio Fest, November 17. Now till next we meet, I am Graham, I'm VK4BB, and walk softly.
This has been the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Courtesy of Bevan, VK5 BD's ATV and YouTube channel, this has been WIA National News. We're back now, live and local, and your voice, your callbacks. And don't forget, tick like.
Hello there, this is VK3OTN, the official station of the Radio Amateur Oldtimers Club of Australia, with the monthly news broadcast for members and friends of the club for March 2024. This month, instead of the usual broadcast, we will offer an historical broadcast from years past. The usual news and information will be broadcast next month. I'm Andrew, the VK3 Charlie Alpha Hotel. I have broadcast files going back as far as 2001. Many of the older files aren't the greatest as far as technical quality goes, archived in either real audio or Windows Media audio format. These produced a smaller file size back in the days when the leading edge technology was dial-up internet. Remember that? This month we have an original broadcast from March 2002. Details on when to hear these news and information broadcasts are available at the club website www.raotc.org.au. The VK3OTN is available on a wide range of radio platforms, HF, VHF and UHF, 2 metre repeaters, amateur television, DMR, that is digital mobile radio, and D-Star. These news broadcasts are available for download for up to 6 months, just in case you miss the original news broadcast from the RAOTC website. If you'd like to contact the club, then why not send us an email, raotc@raotc.org.au. I hope you enjoy this month's broadcast.
Hi there, this is VK3AMD and associated relay stations as VK3OTN for the Radio Amateur Oldtimers Club. The committee is still working on various aspects of the procedure for the club to be incorporated. There are pages of print to be read and studied so that we can submit an application to the government for approval. We'll keep you informed. Here in Melbourne, the speaker at our luncheon on Tuesday, March the 12th, that's tomorrow week, will be Mr. Jim Karamalakis, who is the Senior Technical Officer in charge of the ACA's Testing and Measurement Laboratory here in Melbourne. He's very well qualified to talk to us about the forthcoming regulations about EMR, which will affect us all and be introduced very shortly. Members of clubs other than their own have been invited to come along for this one-off opportunity. The date, Tuesday, March the 12th, the time 12:30 for lunch at 1 p.m. The place is the Bentley Club, which is located in Eula Street, that's Y-A-W-L-A, Eula Street, Bentley. The cost is $27.50 for a very nice 3-course meal with refreshments included. Bookings are essential by Thursday next, March the 7th, with Arthur Evans, VK3VQ, at 2/237 Bluff Road, Sandringham, and his phone is 958476620. Production of our magazine OTN is underway, but it may be a few days later than usual. The RAAF Signals and Radar Association of South Australia will hold its annual Anzac Day reunion on Thursday, April the 18th at 12 noon for a 12:30 lunch. Venue is the Marion Hotel in the Marion Road, Mitchell Park in near Adelaide. Bookings should be made by April the 13th with either Jack Townsend, Ray Dean or Ron Coate. Just excuse me a moment. Next meeting of the VK6 group will be at the Bayswater Tavern next Tuesday, March the 12th, and we send good wishes from Melbourne to Clem, VK6CW. This is VK3OTN. New members. Today we welcome to membership Damien Vale, VK3RX, Associate Member number 1239, Size VK3CNX, associate number 1240. Eric Leach VK5AFN, number 1241. Don Benke VK6BDF, full number 1243. And Doug Jackson VK6ERF, full number 1243. The other one was VK42. If any of the chaps I've just named are listening today, it would be great if you identify yourselves in one or other of the callback sessions. And now it's with regret that I report to you the passing promise of Gordon Lanyon, VK2AGL, who was member number 130, Ken Atkins, VK5MW, who was member number 1097, and John Gerber, VK1ED, member number 850, who passed away just on Saturday afternoon. We now pause for a few moments in memory of these departed friends. And this is VK3OTN from the Radio Amazon Travelers Club. In last month's broadcast, the story of the coastal station VIY at Mount Gambier received many comments in callback sessions from people like me who had never heard of its existence, although I copied Morse and VIM, and others back in the late 20s and early 30s. Other listeners had lived near or visited the site and were glad to hear about it. So please let us have more stories like this one. Another item that attracted attention was a story about bad tea. Blue Easterling VK4BBL has dropped us a note reading as follows. In last Monday's excellent broadcast, both in content and signal strength, there was a segment about bad tasting tea. It reminded me of a snippet in the now defunct Electronica Australia of many long years ago when television had recently arrived. The radio branch in Hobart received a complaint from a viewer that ever since television had been installed, the tea had tasted funny. The investigating officer reported thus. The complainant lived at Sandy Bay and was dependent on tank water. His TV antenna had been positioned so that most of the elements protruded out over the roof gutter and the tank inlet. Being on the sea coast, they became a perching place for innumerable seagulls. The officer confirmed that the tea tasted very funny indeed. Thanks, Liz. This is VK3OTN. Ron Fisher has summarised Pat Hawker's Technical Topics column published in the November 2001 issue of Redcom, the Journal of the RSGB. It tells of the work done by amateurs in developing the art of HF propagation forecasting. Many might be surprised that some of this happened in Australia during the 1960s and was published at the time in our own amateur radio magazine. Forecasting good HF conditions. Who would be a weather forecaster? Satellites with cloud-covered pictures, radar, etc. have improved the art beyond all recognition, yet mistakes still occur. Still, meteorologists are well ahead of radio physicists. Despite some 60 years of radio propagation predictions, HF forecasts are still at the stage reached many years ago by weather forecasters. Not much better than a wet finger held in the wind. The trouble is, of course, the unpredictable sun. The physicists have built up much knowledge of its external workings, but still, as for earthquakes, have no reliable method of when and where or how powerful solar flares and the associated sunspots will occur. When pioneer amateurs began to explore the use of short waves in the early 1920s, the page was blank. Nobody knew what to expect at various wavelengths at various seasons, or whether HF could provide reliable communications over various distances. The professional communications engineers, with the exception of Marconi and his chief assistant Franklin, had written off wavelengths below 200 meters as of little or no value. In 1912, the USA politicians had been content to hand over this entire region to the amateurs. The first transatlantic tests in the very early 1920s used wavelengths around 200 meters and needed darkness over the entire path. The first two-way contact between France and the USA was on about 110 metres. Amateurs first girdled the wave in October 1924 on about 80 metres around the dawn to dusk period. In the following experiments in 1924, John Reinhardt's W1XAM presented in April 1925 issue of QST an ionized reflecting layer hypothesis to account for the strange behavior of the short waves, in particular the mysterious skip distance effect. But this was still only a theory. It was left to Edward Appleton to add the QED. Appleton was Professor of Physics at King's College during 1924 and 1925, and was able to demonstrate the existence of a much higher layer than that assumed for the Heaviside layer. Appleton named this the F layer and showed that there were other intermediate layers which he named the D and E layers. This sparked off intensive investigations into the physics of the upper atmosphere remaining obscure. It took more than a decade before the connection between the ionized layers and the Sun began to be understood in any depth. Even in the late 1930s, some amateurs were convinced of a direct connection between the quarters of the Moon, the tides, the barometric pressure, and DX conditions for amateurs. The 28 megahertz band exercised a particular fascination. Many observed the hissing phenomenon thought to arise from atmospheric eruptions on the Sun. In the 1940s, these radio emissions from the Sun would have formed the foundation of a whole new science of radio astronomy. This was investigated at the Cavendish Institute by Sir Martin Royal, G3CY, in the mid-1940s. Earlier than this, Dr. F.D. Farmer published an important paper, Critical Frequency Measurements of Wireless Waves Reflected Obliquely from the Ionosphere. That compared the F region skip frequency for transmissions between two distant stations with that calculated from the normal coincidence characteristics on a simple ray theory. Frank Farmer, G6JY, is still an active amateur at over 90 years of age and is a regular 20-metre contact on Long Park most days. By the end of World War II, some at least of the effects of solar flares were becoming clear. But it was not until the 1960s that the importance of caudal hop and the associated grey line propagation, as well as transequatorial propagation, began to be observed and investigated and appreciated. Caudal hop was discovered largely due to the pioneering investigation of signals from Europe received in Australia by Hans Albrecht, VK3AHH, later DL3EC. Hans published his findings in Amateur Radio magazine at the time. TE was discovered by amateurs on the North-South America path and then confirmed by observation on signals between Cyprus and southern Rhodesia. Another well-known amateur who did much work on caudal hop was Les Moxon, G6XN. In the 60s and early 70s, Les took very low-power equipment to the mountains of Scotland, where he made contact with Australia using extremely low-angle radiation and caudal hop. Many amateurs have shown that with the aid of ionospheric tilts that occur at dawn and dusk, and even high-angle radiation from low dipoles can span many thousands of kilometres without intermediate ground reflection. Choosing the right time and frequency can give operators using simple equipment and very basic antennas plenty of DX. Amateurs can be proud of the role they have played in the investigation of HF and VHF propagation and should be aware that there is still plenty more to uncover. Things that might seem obvious to us perhaps should be noted and over a period of time might lead to new discoveries. That was a very thoughtful contribution from Ron Fisher, VK3OM, after studying a very long and complex article. This was VK3OTN for the Radio Amateur Old-Timers Club. We just mentioned Reinhardt. Pre-war amateurs and some post-war amateurs will recall building a Reinhardt shortwave receiver. Some early post-war operators may also have done so. In the American magazine Ham Radio, issue dated August 1981, there was a 9-page article by Leonard Spencer, W6CBQ, entitled John L. Reinhardt's Father of Shortwave Radio. I'll read you some of the story and précis later parts of it, so here goes. Between the years 1921 and 1925, John L. Reinhardt led the amateur radio experimenters of that time in development of shortwave communications below 200 meters wavelength. Recognized engineers and scientists of that time considered these wavelengths useless. In 1964, Herbert Hoover Jr., W6ZH, then president of the American Radio Relay League, awarded Mr. Reinhardt the first Hiram Percy Maxim Gold Medal for the greatest contribution to amateur radio in the past 50 years. The ceremony took place on the 50th anniversary of QST at the Pacific Division Convention in Sacramento, California. The actual presentation was made later at the Fort Howard Hospital as Reinhardt was unable to attend the convention. Mr. Hoover summed up his address with this tribute to Reinhardt, who was then retired and living in Aptos, California, and using the call sign K6BJ. And Mr. Hoover said, in the immediate scramble for short waves that followed his basic concepts, Reinhardt's pioneering work became strangely overlooked. Perhaps the fact that he was an obscure electrician in a New England textile mill who had overturned the accepted theories of the scientific authorities of the day had something to do with it. But John Reinhardt should not be forgotten. Quiet, modest, and unassuming as he may be, he, perhaps more than any other individual, is the father of shortwave radio. When we realize that today, 57 years later, and of course this was written in 1981, the great bulk of the world's long-distance radio communications, broadcast, point-to-point, marine, aviation, and all others, still takes place on those same shortwaves that were first demonstrated by Reinhardt. We can justly be proud of this amateur's accomplishment. Now that's the end of Mr. Hoover's tribute to Reinhardt, and now I'll tell you some more abstracts from that story. This is VK3ATN. During 1923 and 1924, Reinhardt studied 5,000 reports on his shortwave transmissions to come up with the idea of skip distance and reflection from the Kennedy heaviside layer, and predicted that communication across the nation in daylight would be possible. This was an entirely new concept at the time. In 1925, he was invited to cooperate with Zenith Radio in the provision of radio equipment for the Navy Macmillan Arctic expedition. He helped design and construct the shortwave station installed on the Bedoyan, the schooner commanded by Macmillan, and he was the radio operator on the ship. He went to work for RCA in 1933 to 1938 when he was called up to work in the U.S. Navy. During his 5 years at RCA, the company filed 23 patents based on his work. In the Navy, he spent some time as head of the radio and radar division of the Naval Research Laboratories, where he supervised the work of 1,200 physicists. In 1940, he rejoined RCA, and then in 1949, he joined Eitel McCulloch, makers of the renowned INAC tubes. He retired to Lear in 1960. Amateur calls he held were 1QP, 1XT, N1QP, W3RB, W3IBS, and K6BJ. When the article I've referred to was published in 1981, he was still active. What a man. There's an interesting story about a name just about all of us would have known in our early days of amateur radio. This is VK3AMD for VK3OGN. A few days ago, I received a phone call from a chap named Joe, who identified himself as Joe Martin, VK3DEK. Joe had read an issue of the Historical Radio Society's journal in which George Vance, VK3DS, was appealing for a black Kingsley AR-7 for the Army Signal Museum. He admitted he didn't have one, but knew quite a lot about them. He did indeed. When called up for Army service, he already had a first-class commercial operator certificate and was promptly drafted into the newly forming Army Special Wireless Group. When his unit set up operation in Greece, they were equipped with black AR-7s. The serial numbers were 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. How do you like that? I'm hoping Joe will tell us more about that story as time goes on. It won't be for lack of me asking you. This is VK3AMD. Next item from Certecito, the magazine of the Royal Australian Signals Association in Victoria. The writer is Don Jackson, who was in 6 heavy wireless section 3-core signals. He calls his story The Battle of Aspro. It was in 1942, if my memory serves me, that it was decided to locate land headquarters, direct operations during the anticipation of West Australia. The powers that be chose a secluded area inland north of Perth, which was eventually codenamed Aspro, and how this name turned out to be. Of course, wireless communication had to be assured, and with this in mind, a detachment was sent from 6 heavy wireless to ascertain whether communications could be maintained. Corporal Snowy was OC, and there were 3 other WT operators. We were issued with the famous, and some said infamous, 109 set. The tent was pitched, aerial connected, and test message sent. We worked a roster of 4-hour shifts. Communications were satisfactory when Snowy came on duty at 2,400 hours. We'd been on ops with Snowy several times and had become quite used to seeing him with a blanket over his head and the phones overlap. There we were, Snowy on the set, dimly lit by a low wattage bulb, and the rest of us bedded down for the night. About 0400 hours I woke and felt rain on my face, or was I dreaming? I hurriedly aroused the others. The tent was in an untidy heap 100 yards down the hill. Rain was pouring down, and Snowy was sitting at the 109, blanket over his head, phones on, fast asleep. How's communication, Snow? Oh, a bit of a bill at the other end, but otherwise not bad. And later off, Snowy became notorious for dropping off. Subsequently, this area became the site for LHQ and Signals headquarters. The next time we saw it, we were most impressed. The engineers had done a wonderful job. Literally hollowed out the entire hill and divided the interior into rooms and passages, and over the lot was a huge camouflage net. It was truly amazing. We were allocated an area beneath the net, and it was proposed that our van was to be placed just so, but it had to be dug in. Armed with spades, shovels, pickaxes, crowbars, etc., we attacked the designated area, only to find that just under the soil was solid rock. We worked day after day to make headway through that rock, but hardly made an impression. We as Sigs thought it was ridiculous, but our dear sergeant in charge said that we had to obey orders from above. Every night we retired exhausted and frustrated. We were self-catered, i.e. bully beef and powdered egg, and some potatoes which we found in a nearby paddock. We took turns to be cook. My turn came around all too quickly, and I put the bully beef into a Dixie, poured off the fat and grease, and covered the meat with mashed potatoes and mushrooms from another paddock. I was unanimously voted cook for the duration. It certainly beat bully beef and powdered egg. On retiring for the night, we took turns to read out loud our one and only book, 2 pages a night to stretch it out. One by one, we would drop off, listening to the adventures of Tom and Leonora. Believe me, some of the things that pair got up to would make your hair curl. Naturally, much ad-libbing went on. When it was at last realised we had no hope of burying our van, the engineers did the job with gelignite. That was from Certecito. Thanks for permission and reproduce it. This is VK3AMD and VK3OTN. I don't know anybody who didn't enjoy the long strings of gobbledygook that came from Humphrey Appleby when addressing his Prime Minister Jim Hacker in the ageless BBC series Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister. Humphrey, Sir Nigel Hawthorne, died late in December. Paul Eddington, who was Jim Hacker, had predeceased him. The back page section of the Northern Age, edited by Michael Smith with Victoria Gervich, reported the imaginary meeting of the famous pair when Humphrey arrived in heaven. With all credit to the age and its brilliant writers, I'd like to read you some of the ensuing dialogue. Humphrey just arrived in heaven and faced St. Peter. Humphrey, good God, where am I? St. Peter, not quite, dear fellow, have a seat. Humphrey, that was one hell of a brandy jumbo pour that knocked me flat into the Chesterfield. St. Peter, into the other life, actually. Humphrey, raising an eyebrow, what do you mean? I've got to be at a cabinet meeting at 4. Bernard? St. Peter, not so loud, Sir Humphrey. Most of the ex-ministers are sleeping. You see, we've been expecting you. And he consults a book. Ah, yes, your sponsor's coming along directly. He vanishes. Crash of thunder. Lightning. All goes dark. Enter on a cloud. Jim Atkins supporting a pair of magnificent angels' wings and pinstripe smock to a holy choir from the roseate glow. Humphrey aghast. You? Humphrey, what? Jim, Humphrey, what took you so long? Too many nights at the club? Or that meeting run overtime? Humphrey, I don't understand, Jim. You know him well? Jim said, Dylan, well, look who's talking. Humphrey said, oh. Then said Jim, well, I've never known you stuck for words. It's time I got even. To put it simply, Humphrey, certain informal discussions took place regarding your inclement and precarious state of well-being, involving a full and frank exchange of medical views, after which there arose a series of proposals that on active and inert examination proved to indicate certain promising lines of inquiry, which when pursued led to the realization that the alternative courses of action might in fact, in certain circumstances, be susceptible of discrete modification, leading to a reappraisal of the original areas of difference and pointing a way to encouraging possibilities of compromise and cooperation that, if bilaterally implemented with the appropriate give and take on both sides, might, if the climate were right, have a reasonable possibility in the end of the day of leading, rightly or wrongly, to a mutually satisfactory resolution. Unfortunately, these proved negative in all areas of possibility, resulting in inexorable and irreversible life returnable stasis, leading you from an oxygenated cerebral environment beyond all atmospheres and universal beings to a higher start of celestial being. Humphrey, what the hell are you talking about? Jim, you had a fatal heart attack and you're in heaven. Yes, well, the age writer of that, Jim, we owe their apologies. They pay their apologies to Anthony J. and Jonathan Lynn, the creators of the original series. And on that happy note, I'll leave you to our next transmission on Monday, April the 1st. This is Alan Doble, BK3AMD, and associated relay stations as BK3OTN, the official call sign of the Radio Amateur Old-Timers Club of Australia. We now conclude our transmission for this month and hope you found it interesting. We'll be on the air again on Monday the 1st of April, and although that's April Fool's Day, we'll be there in earnest. And we'll be there again on the 6th of May at the same time as today, and daylight saving will have ended over here. Times and frequencies can be checked in the current issue, which is March 2002 of our club magazine OTN. Please take part in the call-back session on the frequency you've been listening to. Thank you for listening. In 73, this is Alan Doble, as VK3OTN, about to take calls on 2 meters. Please stand by.
You have been listening to VK3OTN. VK3OTN is the official station of the Radio Amateurs Old Timers Club, Australia. This concludes this month's News and Information Bulletin. The next RAOTC News and Information broadcast will take place on the first Monday of next month, on the same frequencies, and at the same times as today, with the exception of January. Thanks for being with us, and we hope you will join in the callbacks, where callbacks are taken. 73 everyone.